What's going on, guys? My name's Ethan on the channel, and today I want to talk about the Apple TV box and why Apple should focus on turning the Apple TV box into its own game console. Now, for those who don't know, streaming media devices like the Apple TV box have become more and more outdated as time's gone on because more and more companies like Samsung and Sony have built in the abilities to watch any streaming service you want, like your Netflix, your Hulu, your Disney Plus, into your smart TV. So, why would you need an Apple TV box? Well, to me, I feel like Apple should look at that and convert the Apple TV box into a game console. You can already connect a stylus, a Bluetooth controller to the Apple TV box, and you can use the Apple TV box to access Apple Arcade. But what I mean is Apple should basically make its turn its Apple TV box into an actual game console. Now, here's why. First of all, there's a lot of money to be made in game consoles, right? Now, times have changed over the years, and we're long past the days of the Panasonic 3DO and the Philips CDI, where the consoles came out, had a few games, and then kind of fell off. And with the recent shutdown of Stadia, there is no real fourth competitor that's trying to break into the major gaming scene against Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft. Those three are like the titans, and the only real company who can really outspend those companies when it comes to the finances is actually Apple. Now, why this matters is because, well, Apple's got the money. Apple's also got their Apple TV Plus service where they've got some IPs like Ted Lasso. That could be their own version of FIFA, or For All Mankind, and other shows and that. So why doesn't Apple just make its own game console? More specifically, why don't they make their own micro console? Why don't they turn the Apple TV box into a micro console that lets you play indie games and retro games? Well, let me explain. Right, the Apple Silicon chip that's in the Apple TV isn't really designed for hard, graphically intensive games. So all you need to do is really change the chipset. Right? Sure, I also think that porting games to the Apple TV box may be quite costly for some developers who maybe don't already have a version ready to go. But a lot of developers, like I know MergeStar, I think it's TwinStar, MergeStar, 1, 2, they develop Dead Cells. Dead Cells exists on Apple TV as an Apple Arcade game, but Apple could easily set up its own little app store on Apple Arcade, which lets you buy not Apple Arcade, Apple TV, which allows you to buy any game that is available on the App Store, as well as having developers make exclusive games for the Apple TV box and buying their own developers. Now, I know Apple doesn't have a tendency to buy a lot of big companies. Their biggest deal was only $3 billion for Beats headphones by Dr. Dre. But we could easily see Apple spend some money and buy some smaller game developers, some indie devs, some companies like Atari, Big Yacht Club Games, some smaller, more notable game developers and publishers, and bring those games to Apple TV, and I could see it do really well. Now, there's one big reason I feel like Apple won't do this, and that's because of the Apple Pippin. Now, if you don't remember the Apple Pippin, back in the 90s, this console was basically what made Apple go bust. Right? Apple obviously still exists today because they were pulled out of bankruptcy, but they nearly went bankrupt back in the 90s because the Apple Pippin failed so hard during the time when Apple's computers were selling really badly, and they didn't really have much else. What they spent like billion, I think it was like hundreds of millions on a product called a Newton, and Newton failed. It was basically a touch screen with a stylus, basically a combination of the iPhone and DS. But now looking at Apple, they're in a strong financial position. They're a $2 trillion company. They have the money. They have some IPs that they could turn into games thanks to Apple TV Plus. Why not? Why not buy some studios? Why not make the Apple TV box its own game console? If Apple sees ease of point in doing it, I think it would be a good idea. Personally, I think that they could become a competitor, or at least if they're not like one of the major three, they'll be like Steam. They'll be similar to Steam, where they're talked about, but they're not a major console player. But that all comes down to see what Apple wants to do. And with Stadia recently pulling out of the game industry, I do not think Apple was really going to be throwing their hat in the ring to get involved in the console market. Well, am I going to be proven wrong? I don't know. We will have to wait and see. But yeah, guys, what do you think? Do you think Apple will get involved in making a game console and turn the Apple TV box into a game console? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe, like, share. I put new videos whenever I can. I've been Eve Kate, and I'm signing out. Peace.